Morning, Facebook. This is Alliance for the Brave. We'll be on the air in just a minute. We've got a really great program. We're going to have a lot of fun. This is the great, the one and only Boom Boom.
Hoo-wah.
Yeah.
Boom. Artillery. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Come on, why do you always look at me like that? You got to get into the Army spirit, man. I know you're Navy, but...
I know, man. Let's put this shit back in the sea.
Alliance for the Brave, a program that advocates for our active military, veterans, and first responders. Presented by Peer Services Web Design. Alliance for the Brave, serving and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Tune in, join in, and plug in with us around the globe. Welcome to Alliance for the Brave.
In the air everywhere across America, you're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring education, information, and communication to today's veterans, active duty military, first responders, and man, we always pray for our medical responders. And thank you, American Patriots, for joining us. I'm Jim Blythe, a certified senior advisor. In other words, I work with the old folks. And a U.S. Navy veteran. Joining me, the one and only London Mason, Armory, Artillery. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Army artillery.
Oh, yeah.
Not
okay.
Armory. Good morning, Jim. How we feeling?
Hey, listen.
Yes, sir.
I've been looking forward to this program for several weeks.
Yeah.
So we've got a really great guy calling in to be part of this show today, and I know he's going to put a smile on your face, which is pretty easy to do.
I'm anticipating.
Yeah. Well,
conversation.
welcome, Team Fred McKinnon, U.S. Army veteran. Buddy, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation with the group.
Hey, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I tell you what, just in your honor, I'll stand up and use the microphone, so it'll be a little stand-up radio. Is that okay?
All right, I'm gonna sit this one down now.
Oh no! Wow!
Hey, Fred. He's trying to get him in early.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, hey, brother, tell us about what motivated you to join the Army, and how did that inspire you, and what did you do in the Army?
Well, when I graduated from high school, I was looking at my options as far as going to college, and my academic advisor suggested RTC. So actually, I applied and got an Army RTC scholarship to go to college, and I went to college at North Carolina A&T State University, which is in Greensboro, North Carolina. And when I graduated, I got commissioned as a second lieutenant, and I went to Fort Gordon, which is where we were having our signal officer basic course. So I was a signal officer in the Army, and that's kind of how I got, slated for the Army, is through the scholarship I got in college.
How fun? Okay, what is a signal in the Navy? These were the guys with the little flags that coordinate with each other.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Well, actually, you were right down the street, Fred, from my home. I'm from Augusta, Georgia, so I know all about Fort Gordon. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
signal did come from the flag wavers. That was our symbol, but signal incorporates basically anything that has an electrical signal. You can be anything from communication, radios, etc. So I happen, being a signal officer, kind of opened up a vast variety of opportunities for me in the military. So I was slated. I had an engineering degree, so I thought I was going to be an engineer in the Army, but they sent me to signal, so I was dual-headed. So it was a great experience, though.
Oh man, I bet that was fun.
Yeah.
Now, where were some of the bases that you went to around the world?
Well, I did 4 years active and 4 years reserve, so I was at majority of my time was at Fort Bragg, aka Vietnam, in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I did my reserve time at Fort Meade, which is in Maryland. So I went to Fort Bragg, and they convinced me to jump out of those perfectly flying aircraft as an airborne trooper, but that was an exciting experience. As a young soldier, I guess I'll do anything for money, because they told me if they'll give me $250 extra to jump out the plane. So I said, hey, let's do it.
Yeah, you and my wife both.
I got to tell you, you're nuts.
Yeah.
I told you in the joke that I went through the ejection seat training so I could fly in the TA4, and they told me, well, if you ever got ejected, you'd probably lose your knees and your toes because you're 6'1", and I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound like a fun way to get out of an airplane. Yeah. Nope. But, you know.
And the funny thing about it is that when we're jumping out the plane, I try to tell people I didn't know what we're doing. I just followed the guy in front of me. He went out, so I just followed him.
It's an easy way to do it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, they'd have heard me all the way back to Texas if that had happened to me. It would have been the bloodiest scream you ever heard.
Right.
But Fred, so Fred, you did that, and then now today you're working for the Department of Defense. What a great deal. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I got out of the Army, I started working for the federal government as an IT, information technology specialist in Washington, D.C. I jumped around from different organizations, and then I got the opportunity to come back and work for the Department of the Army. So I'm currently working at Fort Eustis, which is an Army base, and, I kind of manage IT projects for the Army. So, yeah, it's a great experience to not only serve in the Army, but be able to come back as a civilian and still work for the Department of the Army. So, yeah, I love it. I love the job I have. If my boss is listening, I love the coworkers I work with.
Awesome.
Oh, man, let me tell you, then that's not a job. That's a vocation, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I don't look at it as a job because I love going to work every day, working around other active duty soldiers as well as working around other veterans. So, I'm able to take what I learned in the Army, that camaraderie, and still roll it over into my civilian life. So I thoroughly love it.
And Fred, you transitioned from the Army, and now, you're helping people, become successful in integrating into civilian life. What's that like?
Well, that's one of the things that the organization that I work with, that's a nonprofit called Armed Services Arts Partnership. We try to integrate veterans back into civilian life because, as you guys know that serving in the military, we're in a unique experience when you serve in the military. You have that esprit de corps, that camaraderie, and sometimes you don't see that in the civilian side. As well as I had to get accustomed to calling people by their first name instead of their last name. That was the biggest adjustment that we found. But yeah, it's very sometimes challenging to integrate back into civilian life, especially after serving in the military. It's an adjustment because some of the things we go through, just like I said earlier, jumping out of planes, you don't find that in the civilian sector.
Right.
So you don't find maybe going to war in the civilian sector. So some of the things that we deal with, it's kind of difficult, but it was an easy transition for me because, like I said, I went from active duty, basically rolled into civilian life, still working for the Army. So I love it.
You really had it easy. I don't know. For me, when I got out of the Navy, it was like, don't let the gate hit you in the rear end going out, and I went back to college, and Fred, I made a big mistake. I did not go into the reserves like you did, but I didn't tell anybody about where I'd been or what I'd done, and I'd made 3 combat tours of Vietnam on aircraft carriers, and I got to tell you, the change for me was basically hiding everything that I had done, acting like it didn't happen. And that doesn't help, does it?
No, we see that a lot, and that's one of the things that we're trying to get the word out to not only the military but the civilians that, mental health now is one of the biggest things at the forefront because a lot of veterans like yourself and myself, we don't want to tell people what we've been through because the stigma that comes with, being labeled as, crazy or not all together, I don't want that to affect my security clearance. I don't want people to look at me and think that I'm crazy. But at the same time, by hiding it, it kind of hurts myself. I'm mentally incarcerating myself when I don't, talk about these things. So we're trying to bridge the gap to the civilian, not only with the veterans as well, and say, hey, make this thing a part of your normal day-to-day operation. It's okay. We could talk about a lot of things at work, but we need to talk about how you're feeling today. Expose those things. And that's some of the things we do with the comedy class that I teach. We take those things that people don't want to talk about, and we put it at the forefront, and we try to shed light on it to make it, a little lighter subject to talk about, and it's been very rewarding.
Hey, Fred, I got a question for you. So I was watching a video. I'm a peer specialist. I work for the VA, and they had us to watch a video about the same type of thing that you're doing with the comedy, with the service members. How do you incorporate that type of the comedic? Because we're in service. We always joke with each other, and we have that raw,
Right.
comedic, characteristic. How do you get yourself into that? Because it just seems like it's so natural for you.
Yeah, it was natural for me because I was known as the class clown coming up, and the jokester at the family reunions, etc. So I just didn't know that I could take that talent, that raw talent, and put it on stage.
Yeah.
And be prepared to tell different jokes. That's the most I'm gonna be honest. That's the most frightening thing. Because by nature I'm really shy and an introvert, but when I get on stage, I become this other person. So what I try to do is, one of the ways I'm able to help the veterans is that, number one, transparency. When I start talking about maybe some things that have plagued me, anxiety, depression, dealing with alcohol, etc., it's one of those things when you start telling your truth, people can feel that you're being authentic, and then it allows them to open up, and I show them how you can take situations or experiences that we may not want to talk about and just maybe change it up a little bit to have a little bit fun, making fun of myself. And I tell you, it's very rewarding because my job is to take what's inside of you and to pull it out. Just as Jim was saying that when he went to work, he didn't want to talk about it. My job when I sit down with the veterans is to get you to talk about it. And one of those ways that I do it is talking about what I went through. And a lot of times once you tell people what you've been through, they'll be like, okay, he went through that, so it's okay for me to share what I've been through.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things and techniques we use in reference to trying to get them to tap into their comedic side.
And when we're talking about that, you're talking about experiences that civilians would never experience. Civilians would never know.
Right.
You can't imagine what it's like to stand on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier during operations. You can't imagine what it's like to wait for your pilots to come back to the ship. You can't imagine what it's like to watch a pilot trying to land where maybe he's got his foot shot off and he coming into the carrier, because that happened to one of my pilots, Lieutenant Denny Earl. But these experiences, and then the guys that were in country, in London, you told me many times, you were in Iraq, and the experiences they had. I got to tell you one quick story, though, that I thought was interesting. I have a nephew who lives up in Oklahoma now, and he was Army National Guard, and he went to the first Iraq war there when the liberation of Kuwait. Mm-hmm. So he is a truck driver. He's a heavy equipment truck driver, and he's leading a convoy into some small village in Kuwait, and all of a sudden they came under fire. And so he pulls up, and he has a weapon, and he fires about 5 rounds, and here's about 90 of the Iraqi Red Guards who come out with their hands up. Mm-hmm. Wow. And he's telling me, he said, Uncle Jim, he said, you know what? There was only one gun in that convoy, and I had it, and there was only one clip of ammunition in that convoy, and I happened to have it. And he said, I captured 90 Red Guards, wow. And everybody was shocked. Now what do we do?
Yeah. All that firepower.
But, and I get it. You've got to put a smile on your face. That's a very, very, very important thing to do. So you teach comedy. We're going to be taking some commercial breaks, but Fred, I want to talk about how you do that, dig into that a little bit, and what you've seen it do to affect service members and people and help them out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Definitely, we could do that. I think we're coming up on a break now. Do you want to wait after the break, or you want me to go and dive in now?
Well, let's wait till after the break. So, you're listening to Alliance of the Brave with London and Jim, and we've got Fred McKinnon. I am so excited to have him on board. I'm going to see if I can crack him up a little bit because I got to tell you, anytime I can mess with an Army officer, no bad deal. No bad deal.
Hey, Fred, I got your back, man. I was senior enlisted, so I got you, man.
I appreciate it. I need help.
Yeah. Well, listen, I tell you what, we're going to take a break, hear from all of our commercial sponsors, and then we'll bring this program back in with Fred McKinnon talking about how we help veterans with humor. This is Jim Blythe and London Mason talking with Fred McKinnon. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, your education, information, and today comedy resource. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're live on Facebook, and man, that's great.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please don't go away, man. I can't do this routine.
Hey, Fred, what year was it that you were in Fort Gordon?
I was at Fort Gordon in 97, from June
97.
of 97 to December 97 when I went to officer course.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Did you stay around, go to the Masters? Did you have a chance to do any of that?
Yeah, actually, when I came early, so the Masters was happening when I got there early because I came early in the year, even though my class didn't start to June. So yeah, I got to experience that when all the golfers came and like the whole city shut down.
Oh yeah, look, it's gotten worse. So they have,
wow.
yeah. So Washington Road and the Green Jacket, which used to be the actual restaurant that all the players they would go. That's not even there anymore. So they so they have taken up the entire that end of Washington Road is all Masters now. All of it.
Wow.
You can't even go over there unless you have a badge, you work there, you're an employee, et cetera, et cetera. All of that belongs to them. They bought out houses. I mean, it's crazy over there.
Hey, maybe we could talk Robin into getting us some press badges. And we could go and
That'd be nice.
Well, we've been, except for this last year because of COVID, we have had press passes and been involved in the Byron Nelson golf tournament here in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, we have seen some of the greatest golfers. Now, yours truly is about the worst golfer you can ever imagine. Okay? And Pat Wheeler, who has this fabulous golf show right before us, has asked me to fill in for him 2 or 3 times. And I got to tell you, you want to know what funny is? Funny is having a guy like me who knows nothing about golf trying to.
Yeah. Well, I tell people my game is like Tiger Woods. And that's only because I keep hitting the ball in the woods. That's about it.
Oh, you know what? My grandfather gave me a shotgun when I was 13. I used to go squirrel hunting. I still do it with golf balls.
I just pick it up and throw the ball, and that's about it. I'm not gonna hit it.
Yeah.
It's terrible, man.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we were involved at a golf tournament here in Dallas for Arley Army, and they give me one of the what is it, the M15 or M16?
Yeah.
But it's got a special attachment on it, and you stuffed a golf ball in there, and you put a blank, and you fired it. And I mean, I was sitting there shooting these things down the range, and I'm like, hey, I can do better with this than I can with a 1-wood.
Look, silly story. So when I was young, when I was a kid, growing up in Augusta, the golf course was literally probably mile to mile and a half. So we could go through this park and jump the fence. Well, as kids, we used to go out there, they'd be practicing, and we would take all of the colored golf balls.
Oh, you terrible.
That was so fun.
All right, here we go. We're going to be back on the air. Facebook, thank you. Thank you for joining us. This is going to get better. Trust me. I'll quit joking and let Fred do it.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome back. This is Jim Blythe, the London Mason. We're having a lot of fun with Team Fred McKinnon. Look him up on Facebook. Look him up on the internet. You're going to see a really, really great guy. I think that there are men and women who are gifted, and boy, we found one to bring them on today. Fred, one of the things you do, besides being funny, is you teach people. Humor Your Stress. It's a seminar. Tell us a little bit about that and how it works.
Well, one of the I work with a nonprofit called Armed Services Arts Partnership, ASAP for short, which we make fun of that because it's not the Army Substance Abuse Program. But
Whoa!
I like that.
No, but that's our acronym ASAP, and we make fun of that all the time. It just worked out that it's the same acronym. But no, then, what I was doing before I got with the nonprofit was, called Humor Your Stress. And actually, the way I came up with it was that I was doing comedy, and I worked at an Army base, and one of the transition personnel saw one of my shows and said, hey, as veterans are transitioning out of the Army, they have to go through our processing. So how about you come and maybe do some jokes and talk about your experience transitioning out of the Army? So I was acclimated and became a part of the transition program at Fort Eustis. So then I got involved with the nonprofit where they teach free, no cost, free creative arts classes to military veterans. So they came up with a curriculum. And again, all we try to do is take our military or life experiences and just try to add about 10% of humor sauce and make it relatable. So teaching is not as hard as people would think, because you don't really have to teach somebody how to be funny. All you have to do is listen to them tell stories, and then you can get suggestions on the kind of how to make it funny. I tell people all the time, comedy is 90% true, 10% fabricated, and the audience has to figure out which is which. So,
well, give us an example. Tell us what would be something that you would teach somebody to take a story. How would you modify it, and how would you make it funny? How would you make us smile?
I'll give an example. The other gentleman on the show, he kind of, I was laughing behind the scenes because he said he's a peer specialist at the VA. So all veterans know and how it is going through the VA process. So one of the things that I talk about myself when I went through the VA process is sometimes it can be a tedious process. So one of the jokes that I tell, and I'll tell it right now, is that last year during the pandemic, I got recognized from the Department of Veteran Affairs. They actually sent me a trophy and a plaque, and they named me their 2020 Performer of the Year. So I was shocked because, number one, I didn't know they had such an award that they give out every year to the Performer of the Year. Number two, I was trying to figure out how did they even find me, because I don't remember anybody from the Department of Veteran Affairs coming to any of my performances. But what happened was somebody secretly recorded one of my performances, sent it to the VA, and based on my video submission, they named me, out of thousands of videos, they named me the Performer of the Year. Now, I got to come clean. It wasn't for a comedy performance. It was for the performance I put on at the VA hospital doing my disability assessment. Because, I didn't know you can get paid for a disability. I did not know that, but I went down there, I acted a straight fool.
I love it, Fred. That's awesome.
Please don't tell nobody. They're watching. I'm just joking. Don't take my disability benefits. I'm just joking.
You're killing me.
I like that.
So I went down there, and when I got to the military, they said, hey, you got to take a disability assessment. I was like, I feel fine. And the lady was like, fool, you got to take this exam because based on the results will determine your disability rating. And as you know, this is the amount of money you get every month for the rest of your life. So when I heard that, I did what the other veterans did. I went home and practiced. I had to get ready. So I went home. I came back the next day. The first test they gave me, they put me in this little phone booth, put these headphones on. They gave me this little button to push, the little hearing test. Now, I hope nobody from the VA is watching, or we ain't got no snitches, because I heard every last one of the beats came through them headphones. I didn't push that little button for nothing. I left at an apartment with 2 hearing aids and a dog. And
so you got free hearing aids and a dog. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. That ain't no bad deal. Well, I'll tell you what, Fred. I think that's incredible. And let's when we come back, We're going to have plenty of time to talk more about the Armed Services Arts Partnership and Fred McKinnon. Fred, thank you for being on board, and stay with us. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to get Fred to tell a few more stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you too, London. Me, I'm not funny. You know how sailors are. We tell stories and nobody laughs. All right, this is Alliance for the Brave, and we're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. Thank you for being on board.
Do you do any USO shows? Have you done any?
No, I haven't done any USO shows. We had a USO contract at Fort Eustis. Was trying to put something together, but then, the pandemic came. So
Yeah.
I do a lot of shows for the military bases in the area that I live in Virginia, because we have a lot of Navy bases. So we have an Air Force, Langley, and then Fort Eustis. So I put on a lot of shows for the military community, but I haven't had the opportunity to get a link up with the USO yet.
Nice.
I've got some friends in there, and I'll see if I can find a name and a number that you can call and see if you can put that together. I think that would be a lot of fun. And then Diane and I are going to be in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area in November at a reunion of my squadron, VA 163. And I'm going to be there and get a chance to meet with a lot of people and meet with people who listen to us there in Norfolk in the Chesapeake area. So we're all fired up about that.
Yeah, that's the same area I live in, and I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to go around and do a lot of military veteran events. And I got to do a Navy squadron that was in Jacksonville, Florida, about 2 years ago, and that was awesome to see some of the old timers and that's still kicking it, and to be able to make them laugh just for a few minutes, man, it's always rewarding for me.
Well, I give you a chance. My wife's talking to me. I mean, she could be. I mean, hey. Yeah, my wife said, hey, invite him to come do something. I'm going to be the MC of the thing. I tell you what, with a bunch of Navy fighter jocks, we're going to need all the humor we can get. And let me tell you. No, I got to tell you, this is the important thing, because we had 5 POWs in Hanoi. We lost 12 pilots in my squadron. And I think there's a lot of relevance to the Vietnam veterans, to our IVA brothers, and what you guys went through. I mean, it's something, and this is important. And when we come back, Fred, I want to tell you again, I think the USO, the military, recognizes the need for this kind of entertainment, is need to get out of your skin a little bit, because one of the things we did was we had the Bob Hope Tour come on board our carrier. And you talk about making Christmas bright, that has to be the best Christmas I've ever had. Santa Claus was a Bob Hope show.
Right.
That's nice.
And I think it adds a little bit more flavor, especially when it's other veterans that are telling the jokes as well, because we can relate to everything we've been through.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. And there's a lot of jokes I could tell, but I would get in trouble for, because somebody go, I remember that.
Now that's a good question, Fred. Do you do a lot of mixture of comedy? And when I mean mixture, maybe like clean, or is it, do you kind of change it up?
Now, what we teach in the class is definitely clean, because what I found is that when you're clean comic, you're more marketable.
Yeah.
So we always start out with clean comedy. Now, we do have people, once they finish the class, they decide they want to be what we call blue, which is a little bit more raunchy. But, of course, the fact that I do a lot of church events, of course, you're going to be very clean in church. And, again, you don't have to be, raunchy to be funny. I mean, there is an avenue for that, but what we try to stress is clean for the most part.
All right, we're going to be back on the air in just a second. Thanks, Fred, for hanging with us. Buddy, this is fun.
Today's program is brought to you by Gear Services Web Design. Visit us on Facebook or online at allianceforthebrave.com. And now, back to Alliance for the Brave.
Well, welcome back. You're on board with Jim Blythe and London Mason. We're here talking with Fred McKinnon, Team Fred. Fred, what a great thing you're doing, bringing humor to the bases, bringing here. We're going to see what we can do to help you to get on with USO, because I remember the USO that coming aboard the carriers when I was in Vietnam, and we had Bob Hope come aboard. That was the best Christmas I've ever had. I think you'd be great on a USO tour.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be too.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we'll give you a baseball cap and a golf club, and you watch enough videos of Bob Hope, and I'll tell you what, you're going to be just fine. I think one of the things too that so impressed me at reading your bio is you come from a faith-based initiative. You are a Christian first and foremost, and you make your humor to where it's clean. It's not offensive. It's not going to push back somebody. And especially in the military, we got a lot of women who've had some rough times. And I think we've got in the civilian world a lot of women who've had rough times. And having it clean and Christian, man, that's a way to go. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's funny because the way I got involved with, when I first started, I didn't know anything about clean or what we call in the comedy world blue comedy, which is what they consider to be raunchy. And then a couple of my mentors in the comedy game said, hey, you want to come do this event at the church? And I was like, okay, I didn't know we can do comedy at the church. It was taboo to me. And then when I got in there and started performing, it was one of those things, it was like, wow, okay, this is a slice of the pizza that I hadn't even thought about, and it just stuck to me like a bug. Now, I'll say this about the Christian side. Being a Christian doesn't mean that, all of us are perfect or, we always make the best decisions. It just means for me and my faith that I know somebody up there is watching over me. In spite of me, he's able to still bless me with opportunities. Yeah. And, these doors that open up for me in the church space, I really have to thank God, because I wouldn't know who to call. It's not like you just call the pastor and say, hey, I'm going to come perform at your church. Every opportunity that I've gotten over the last 4 years that have been in a Christian environment has been based on referrals. And I've been able to go all over the country based on, because they say church people are the ones that gossip the most, and I'm thankful for that now. Because
That's good stuff.
They have really put me out on the platform. And I'm very transparent. I tell, it's like with comedy. When I go to the church, I'm able to be honest and tell them, hey, me being on the stage in your church lets me know there has to be a God. Because some of the things in life experiences that I've been through, it only has to be God that it still opens up doors for me to still be able to do this. So I'm very thankful. So being clean is grateful.
You got to remember Romans 8:1, for there is no condemnation for those in Jesus Christ. So if you give a bad performance, you're not going to get a bad review in a church, right?
That's right.
There is no condemnation.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm going to get a T-shirt with that made on it then.
Yeah. Hey, look, Fred. So you performed at the White House. How did you get this? How did you get that gig?
Oh man, this is all right. So the nonprofit I work with, Armed Services Arts Partnership, the nonprofit is based out of D.C. So they had a contact. It was in 2016 during the Obama administration. They had a contact that worked inside the White House, and one of the representatives from the nonprofit pitched the idea of, hey, we teach this comedy class to military veterans. How about we come to the White House and we put on a military veteran comedy show for the staff?
Wow.
And they bid off on it. Now, as the instructor, I was not originally supposed to participate. So I wasn't even going to go. My students were going to go, and they were going to perform, and I was so excited for them. And I got an email from one of the guys at the White House that said, hey, we know you're the instructor. Would you like to come and MC the event? I was like, wow, what happened? Joe Biden was supposed to be the MC for the event, but he had to leave and go help Hillary Clinton, kind of campaign for her 2016 run for the presidency. So because Joe Biden couldn't go, they called me. So I tell everybody, the pecking order in the United States in 2016 was Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and then Team Fred.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Hey, so we got a chance to go and perform for the staff, and I can say this again, there is a God, because for me to be an unknown comedian, not the Kevin Hart's, the big names, I perform at the White House with a lot of comedians that hadn't had the opportunity to do that. So I can put that on my resume proudly and say it was a great, great experience.
Did you get to meet President Obama?
No, he wasn't there, but we met like all of the Department of Defense staff. We met the secretaries, all of the employees, the ones that you see on the news stations. We met everybody except the president himself.
Well, because some of the things I've read and seen, I think the guy had a good sense of humor, and
he did.
He would have really enjoyed that. This makes all of us, though, as veterans, feel great that you're entertaining the White House staff. That's great.
Yeah.
And those were times. Let me tell you, that bunch of bozos really needed all the entertainment they could get.
Yeah, they made me laugh every day.
I don't know. Sometimes I do believe that our politicians make everybody cry every day, but who knows with that. I think it's really, really important, too. Do you have a certain set of jokes or things that maybe wouldn't be inclusive to the women? Because I know a lot of women veterans feel left out, Fred.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about the nonprofit, is because we teach veterans across all spectrums. So we have females and males. We have, we don't shy away from any sexual orientation, gender orientation, or anything. And yes, I do have jokes. And again, when we do comedy, we don't necessarily just focus on the military. We use the military because we all have in common. But we try to get people to talk about life as a female soldier, life as an African-American soldier, life as a Caucasian soldier. Or we talk about things like as a married person, how is it having kids? So I don't want people to think that it's all just military jokes, because a lot of times when we're performing, if it's a military organization, yeah, I do military jokes. But when I go to churches, they may not resonate with the military because maybe a lot of them haven't served. So we talk about me teaching Bible study to a group of 5-year-olds. Or me, working at a baseball game or something like that. So yeah, everything is all inclusive, and what we teach is talk about things that you've been through. And 9 times out of 10, when you talk about your life experiences, somebody in the audience has either been through the same thing or heard about it, and that's what makes everybody relatable.
Yeah,
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
All right, give us a good example. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'm ready. So one of the examples I use at one of my church shows is that, hey, I believe that education is very important. So I send my daughter to a Christian private school because I want her to have a faith.
Want her to have.
Say again?
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I think we just cut out. Had a little technical difficulty. Are you still with me, Fred? Okay, yeah. Can you repeat what you said? Yeah, you were talking and you cut out. You send your daughter to a Christian school, and that was the end of it.
Okay. So I sent my daughter to a Christian private school because I want her to have, academics as well as a spiritual foundation. And 2 weeks before the school year started, they told me to bring her down there for an assessment test, and I had never heard of an assessment test, for a 5-year-old. But I took her to the church, and guys, she went in there. She was in there for an hour. After about an hour, she came out smiling, and I asked her, I said, "Baby, what's funny?" She said, "Daddy, I knew all those answers." So I felt proud as a father that I'd done my job. So to celebrate, I was going to take her to get some ice cream. Well, on the way to the ice cream store, the school called me and told me they caught my daughter cheating on the test. And I'm like, wait a minute, how do you catch a 5-year-old cheating? The lady, when she graded the papers, that's when she realized she was cheating. The first question on the test was, how many disciples walked with Jesus? And she said, the little boy sitting beside my daughter put 12, and my daughter put 12. I said, wait a minute, that's the right answer. She said, let me finish. Second question, how many days did it take Jesus to resurrect? The little boy sitting beside my daughter put 3, my daughter put 3. She said, but the third question, that's when I realized she was cheating. The third question on the test was, how many books in the New Testament of the Bible? She said, the little boy, he was honest, he wrote, I don't know. I said, what did my daughter put? She put me either. I said, yeah, they shoot you. They got it. They got it.
Oh, wow. Me either.
She was cheating. They got it. But she's doing good, y'all. She's doing good. They forgave her. They believe in forgiveness, so they forgave her.
Yeah, thank goodness for grace.
Yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
that had to. I got to tell you, that had to really crack you up when that happened. So, in doing this, then You're bringing a smile to these guys' face. How many people go through your humor support, your class that you do?
Well, the class for the nonprofit has helped over hundreds of veterans, and it's a free class. And not only do we teach comedy, we teach storytelling, we teach poetry, we teach improv. So there are a variety of classes that are offered through the nonprofit of ASAP, Armed Services Arts Partnership. And if people want to find out more about it, they can go to the website, and it's very easy. It's asap.org. So asaptwice.org, and they can find a list of classes, and all these classes are free. We have sponsors like Bob Hope Foundation is one of our sponsors, and other sponsors who have donated time, money, and resources to make these classes free. Now, on the personal side, I do things like individually, and people can go to my website or the information that you provided to the audience to get me personally. But it's a lot of resources out there, and what we try to do, what I try to do, is get the information out to the veterans. And even now, during the pandemic, we've been able to do stuff virtually. So we've still been able to teach classes via Zoom and using technology, and now we can reach even more veterans. One of the things I was shocked about, I was teaching a soldier that was in Afghanistan about a year ago, and that was just the neatest thing ever. He logged on every week for the class, and we were able to teach him while he was actually serving in active duty. Taught people in Japan. They had to get up early in the morning to make the classes, but it's been a great experience, even though we've been in a pandemic.
Wow. How fantastic. I'm going to look that up. So it's asap.org. So is there a period or a dot between the ASAPs, or just? No,
it's www.asap.org. That's it. ASAP twice. Or you can go to my email, teamfred@outlook.com. You have all my information. You can provide it to the audience. They can call me directly, 757-506-5660. I am an open book. I will share the information across, anybody that wants it, and how to get in touch with our coordinators to sign up for a class. Again, all of these classes are free of charge.
Okay, Fred, I'm sorry. I'm getting carried away. I'm so excited because I know a guy in Jacksonville named Joe. Great guy, calls me up all the time. And I want to say, are you performing, for instance, at the Virginia Beach Funny Bone or any of these others where you've been?
Yeah, I perform at the Virginia Beach Funny Bone on a consistent basis. It's just about trying to get on schedule and see when I'm performing again. We have local clubs as well in the area, in Virginia area, a place called Kazi's. They were shut down for the pandemic, but when they open back up, when they do their veteran shows and things like that, a lot of times they'll reach out to me, and I'll be able to perform at those venues as well. So yeah, it's just about trying to see my calendar and see what's coming up, where I'll be.
I think this is really fantastic. They need to bring you aboard the Gerald Ford and entertain the sailors aboard the Ford, because I understand there's so much technology, and you'd be an IT specialist. Bringing any humor to all of the problems they're having with the technology on the Ford has got to be an important thing to do.
I agree. Like I said, I'm open, and again, I have a team of comedians that anytime we do shows, I have a large portfolio of comedians that are veterans that I work with, and, we all look forward to any opportunities that we have. Of course, I teach the class, and, we do shows for our students. After the class, they have a graduation show where all their family and friends get to see them perform for the first time. And a lot of the veterans, they take this and run with it. They go with more comedy opportunities. Some of them just wanted to check it off their bucket list. Doing comedy is a great skill set because it helps with public speaking as well. So it helps build up, their morale, their as far as public speaking, and it's a nice skill to have.
Oh, I think that's incredible. Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to wrap this show up talking with Fred McKinnon. We want you to go to asap.org, or we want you to go to Team Fred, and you're going to find out how to bring a whole lot of smile to a whole lot of people. This is Alliance for the Brave. We'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. You're having a good day. We're having a great day. Thank you for being on board with Alliance for the Brave. Enjoying this. We've had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah.
glad you guys have me. I'm having fun too.
Good. And I got to tell you, this last segment, brother, goes real fast. Matter of fact, this whole hour, I've had many people tell me, that's got to be the fastest hour in the world. How do you guys do that? And I mean, it just blows by when you're having fun.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, there's a lot of pastors that you need to have in your class. There's a lot of pastors that you need to have in your class.
And again, we get pastors or military clergy that take the class, and as you know, pastors a lot of times use humor as well, and they're great storytellers as well when they do sermons, and it's nothing like breaking the ice with comedy.
Oh, without a doubt. The only problem is I know several who do that, and I sure wish they'd take your class. And as a child growing up, I told you the story about how my dad loved to crack jokes. I mean, every dad does, right? I mean, daddy jokes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I learned how to deadpan. He could tell a gut-busting joke, and I would deadpan it. And I'd look at him, and I'm like, really? Well, I was in Sahara, Tahoe, while I was in the Navy, and I was sitting at a blackjack table waiting to go see Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. That was a live program. For you young veterans, you wouldn't understand what that was. But I got to tell you, I'm sitting there, and this Jewish guy, very heavy Jewish accent, huge glasses, sits down next to me and starts cracking jokes. And I'm just sitting there being quiet and looking at him like, really? And I'm deadpanning. I am busting a gut on the inside, but I'm deadpanning. And finally I said, I think you're really good. Could I buy you a drink? You're going to need it. And
Wow.
And so the guy just laughs, and he gets up and leaves. And the dealer looks at me, and he said, do you know who you were giving a hard time to? And I said, no, but I said, that's got to be the funniest old man I have ever run into. He said, that was Milton Berle, you idiot.
Oh, wow.
I deadpan Milton Berle, man. And too bad I didn't get to buy him the drink because I think he needed it. So, but this is great, what we're talking about. And especially guys who need to come out of their shell, because we've seen a lot in what we do, both London and I, of guys who have PTS, and they don't get out of the house. They isolate.
Yeah. I just like the fact that, Fred, that you use this as a form of wellness recovery, really is what it is. And it's a very unique way to be able to employ a strategy for our veterans to be able to use comedy. Because that's just a natural thing that we do anyway. When we were in the service, we did jokes and laughed at each other and had fun. So I just think that this is just a whole nother level of wellness recovery. It's awesome.
Yeah, and we're doing a lot of work with the VA as well to get it into the VA hospitals because of that.
All right, here we go, guys.
Listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Welcome back. We're about to bring this program into the dock. We're having too much fun today with Team Fred McKinnon. You want to know more about the comedy boot camp? You can look at him on YouTube. It's on there. Go to his website. I think you're going to find some really great things. You want to talk about how to learn this stuff, asap.org, and then also Comedy Boot Camp, comedybootcamp.org. These are skills that you could use in public speaking, skills that you could use in just being part of the community, and skills you could darn sure use if you're a parent, because I think everybody's tired of old daddy jokes, right, London?
Yeah.
Fred, it's a blessing to have you on board and talking about all of this. Tell me what you think is your greatest experience as a story about being a comic.
I would say the most memorable story that I've had as far as teaching comedy is that I had a guy that took my class. He was about 6'5". Now I'm 5'9". He was very towering, very kind of intimidating posture. A white guy with a white beard. You know, I used to call him Santa. And he came to the class, and he was saying, "Hey, I just wanted to be able to be a better speaker." And he said, I have stage fright. I'm really nervous about talking in front of people. And we worked with him to kind of bring out some of his stories. And as we were talking about, he was isolating himself because of PTSD. And he just really was trying to get out of that mindset of being, isolated. So long story short, we started taking the class. And halfway through the 6-week course, we have 1 week we go to an actual comedy club, and we let them practice, at one of the open mics. So now he gets up there, and really he does his material, and the crowd goes crazy. And they're laughing and falling out. And he gets off stage, and he comes up to me. He grabs me by the chest. And I'm like, oh, he's about to hit me. He said, hey, I need to see you he said, hey, I need to see you outside. So I go outside thinking that he's going to punch or something. What's wrong? And he picks me up and gives me a bear hug. And he said, hey, man, thanks for saving my life. I've never felt anything like that. And this has been the best experience of my life. And when he graduated, his wife and family came up to me and said, hey, thanks for giving my husband and thanks for giving my dad back. And I just literally broke down. I didn't think that comedy had that impact, but it's opening people's eyes and knocking down those glaciers that we put up in our mind, that helps us. Now every story's not like that, but just that one story sticks out to me, man, and that's why I do it.
Yeah. All right, we want everybody to go to comedybootcamp.org or asapasap.org. I want you to also go take a look at Team Fred at outlook.com or his website, iamteamfred.com. I got to tell you, you're going to enjoy it. Fred, thank you for being on board, and I want to say a prayer as we close. Dear God, thank you for men like Fred who bring a smile to our face, but will remind us not to take ourselves too seriously. Dear Lord, protect our active duty military, especially those in harm's way that are trying to do their job and trying to save lives. Thank you, Jesus, for the medical professionals. Thank you for my team that brings us together. Thank you, Jesus, and take care of our soldiers and sailors around the world. This we pray in Christ's name. Team Fred, thank you for being on board. What a great opportunity we've had to talk to you today. We'll be here next week. Tune in, join in, and plug in. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, London. This was Alliance for the Brave.
Dreams of moving on. Graduate.